Ladies and gentlemen, back up on you. It's the OZone. Omar Miller here, at Omar Miller on Twitter, at Omar Benson Miller on Instagram, and my brother Terry Miller, also known as the Icons.
Yes. Let's get busy. You're very amped and ready to go. Let's do it.
You're Jaime the Robot.
I am Jaime the Robot.
Anybody remember Get Smart? Great show with Don Adams. Tremendous show. Shout out to R.I.P. to Don Adams, comic genius. We're coming at you live the day after opening day. And I tell you, we couldn't be more excited. There's so much stuff going on. The major leagues is happening. Want to start out with the big news, which was Villanova pulling off the upset.
Wow.
Taking down the number one Tar Heels on a buzzer beater. I mean, it was something special. I think it's pretty interesting because maybe more incredible than the buzzer beater itself was the fact that the over-under on this game was 149.5. That means it's 150. The final score for the game was 77-74.
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable what these guys do.
Now, do you think that the fix is in on something like that?
No, because when you see how spontaneous the game unfurled, it's hard to say, oh, that's fixed. It's like really, really hard to say because that kid hit a Jumpman 3 from like 35 feet on North Carolina with somebody in his face. He did like a Tony Hawk skater pose, like he was doing an ollie, and he still hit the 3. Then North Carolina comes back down, plays terrible defense, and then allows the kid to hit the open 3. Now the kid had to hit the 3, and it was kind of mind blowing to me because they were calling that kid chubby, which is amazing to me. If he's chubby, I'm all out obese.
Yeah, well, I guess it means nothing.
I'm just saying, wow, kind of unbelievable. And I tell you what else, man. The coach over there at Villanova has ice water in his veins. Ice water. I'm talking about. The shot went up. He acted like he was just out for a morning tea. He didn't. There's no reaction, no nothing. Back to this gambling thing. I know a lot of people who caught that game at plus 2.5 for Villanova. So they just wanted any sort of close game and a win for Nova, guaranteed it. I just can't get over the idea that the gamblers can peg that game so close.
Now, how do you think they do that?
I don't know. I mean, we've all seen Casino. Apparently, there's guys who have insider information, but I think that some of it has to be rigged with the refs, but it can't be every game because they're right almost every game when it comes to sports. When it comes to a lot of sports, not all sports. I mean, you're the baseball guru. Let's get this out in the air. Icons are 9-2 with their picks on opening day, which is very
thank you.
Very impressive. 9-2. You can make some money dealing with this guy. But think about that. Both of these teams were averaging 95 and 91 points, I do believe, throughout the tournament. And so you're talking about, 185, 186, and they brought it down to 150, and then they hit it almost spot on.
And once again, it becomes down to defense, right?
In my opinion, It came down to defense. I mean, I didn't feel like Villanova could defense the big man. They did a good job by applying the trap, but UNC showed some discipline. They were able to get out of the trap and move the ball around. The key to getting out of the trap is actually making good passes. You can't dribble your way out of the trap. You have to pass your way out of the trap. And UNC was doing that in the first half, which led to a lot of open three-pointers. And then it also led to a lot of work for the big fellas, dunks, layups, so on and so forth. But there was a point in the second half where UNC got away from that, and Villanova went on a 33-16 run.
Woo!
Yeah, and that's a serious run that's really hard to get over, really. I mean, but they came back, but they bounced back. And one way they bounced back was through the bigs, and one way they bounced back was through the ice water in the veins of their guards. Tremendous game. I mean, one of the best college games I've ever seen, if not the best college game I've ever seen.
Wow.
It was a back and forth. I mean, it was incredible. And I just, I want to, what I'd like to do is to speak about the cultural relevance of the Michael Jordan meme. Michael Jordan.
The crybaby meme.
The crybaby meme at when Michael Jordan was being inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's just mind-blowing to me. If you are on social media, you could not get away from that meme. It's like the social media heads had this queued up because less than 15 seconds after they lost the game, I saw one of the funniest memes of all time, which was they took a still shot of Michael Jordan looking down at his phone, and the image that he saw was himself crying on the meme. It was priceless. It was priceless. Let's go to that Villanova, North Carolina, Chris Jenkins shot winning the game.
They go length to the court with Archie Diacono. 3 seconds at midcourt. Jenkins gives it to Jenkins for the championship. The national champions with Jenkins.
Now you're looking at the ticker tape parade confetti, and that was well before anybody actually verified that the shot was out of his hands. So realistically, if that would have been an hour delay for them to clean all that shit off of the court if it wasn't for if the kid hadn't got it off. So let's just thank God that he actually got it off. I was really impressed with Nova and that gritty East Coast grown man basketball that they employed. Very gritty, very grimy game, very team-oriented game. Problem that I had was I personally feel like there was terrible defense played at the end of the game. In the last shot of the game, one of the things they teach you when you play basketball is you always have to watch the man that inbounds the ball. You hear announcers talk about it all the time in the NBA. Well, what happens is they take the ball full court, and the man, Chris Jenkins, who inbounded the ball, basically trailed down. He sprinted. The senior, who just went out with a bang there, the senior guard dribbles down, and his man was guarding him, but the big man who's supposed to be guarding Chris Jenkins decided to half double team. He wasn't committed on what he was going to do. He didn't commit to double teaming, and he didn't commit to guarding his own man, which led to that guy had the wherewithal to see, oh, wow, Chris is wide open. Look at Chubby Chris. Chubby Chris is available, and I'm going to give him this handoff because worst case scenario, we just get some free basketball and we play into overtime. Right. But instead of that, what ended up happening was he gave him a handoff. I mean, there's not a hand in this kid's face. They ended up closing out on him, but far too late. And, looking at these North Carolina players after the game, they look like the Jordan meme. These guys are crying all over the place. I've been there. I know how emotional the game is for a young man. It's really, really hard to contain yourself because for most guys, they've never experienced love for anything other than their family like they do for the game that they play their whole life.
Right. Competition in general. And when it's so close, it's different than when you get blown out. You saw Buddy Hield get blown out in that in the Final Four game, and he wasn't crying. It was just like, yeah, hey, I balled and shit. I balled for the tournament. See you guys in the draft.
I see y'all in the draft. I'm about to get paid. And part of that is because the game wasn't even close. Villanova blew them out. And shout out to DC Sly for calling those Saturday games.
Did.
I mean, he called them spot on, blowout and all.
Wow. He broke it down. And what about this Marcus Page kid? He has nothing to be ashamed about.
He's got nothing to be ashamed of.
He's a winner.
Stone cold.
Come on, dude.
Stone cold. But you know what? In the moment, it's not about, in the moment, it's about, are you an actual winner right now?
Can you take the pressure? And
ultimately, these kids, this is what separates the good from the great, in my opinion, because ultimately, we're going to see if these guys can bounce back and make some noise when they get to the NBA. Stuff like this has been known to crumble many a man.
Right.
Coming up that inch short. And you're okay to come up an inch short when you're actually a professional because you're probably already wealthy. Even though as a competitor, I don't think it's okay. But that's the mentality guys take.
I always felt like it was more competition. I mean, competitive or harder to play with pressure in college than it is in the pros because you're actually paid in the pros and you're not paid in college.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And you won't be paid if you can't
never
perform
get paid.
in the pressure.
Right. You can't take it.
You can't take an L. Yeah. Not like that.
You can't take it.
Because you definitely don't have time to study.
Right.
Because these kids, everybody on Villanova, North Carolina, all of the Final Four teams, Syracuse, the Sooners. I mean, I go as far as to say the Sweet 16 maybe. Maybe even the round of 32. Everybody on those teams hasn't been to class in a month.
Yeah.
Riddle me that, Batman. Now, if you were down there at NRG in arena in Houston, and you saw 100,000 people in the arena, you see millions of people watching on television.
Maybe they're being homeschooled.
They are not being homeschooled. But who in their right mind can say that these kids don't deserve some sort of a stipend, some sort of money, because this is big money that we're talking about that's being generated. Last night, I'll tell you something that blew my mind. The game isn't even on, and I could be just out of touch on this one. The game isn't even on network television anymore. This is championship game is only on cable now.
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
Now, do you think that cannibalizes the game?
Obviously not, because there's no shortage of basketball players. I think that this has really hurt baseball more so than it's hurt basketball. I think football is the smartest because they've just created an incredible interest in their games. Partially by just showing the games on network television.
Right.
And what happens is I used to be on a Sunday night show, CSI Miami, and it was a juggernaut. But you know who used to smack us around consistently?
NFL?
Sunday Night Football. And I don't care who's playing. It could be the Browns in Jacksonville. People are going to watch, man. And it's a trip, though. I don't know. Back to the other thing. How can you really say, if you've ever been there, how can you really say that these kids don't deserve some sort of a stipend?
Something.
You're selling your jersey, and you're supposed to be getting an education as your recompense for it. But are you getting the education? Because you were out of school for at least a month.
Right. You're a student athlete, supposedly.
So you practice at least 3-4 hours a day. You got weightlifting. You got morning supposed study hall, where I know a lot of my fellow athletes used to get a lot of sexual activity cracking in the study hall. I don't know. I just feel like there's got to be something. When I was in college, there was a guy who was the star point guard on our basketball team, and he used to cut hair. Now, everybody knew that the star guard was getting blue chipped. He had his own apartment, condo. There was a butler named Jeeves when you called him. He had an assistant. It was insane. He had a Pathfinder, which at the time was everything. But the point guard, who was actually really good as well, was not getting blue chipped, and he was a barber. He used to cut our hair, and we would have to leave our $5 for the cut on the top of his dresser on our way out, like we had accidentally dropped it there, like he was a prostitute, so that if anybody was pulling a D'Angelo Russell and was snitching on him, he wouldn't lose his scholarship.
Right.
How can you do that?
They justify by giving you education, supposedly. But as you stated, the education is not there at that point. And if you don't get drafted, then you end up dumb as a bag of rocks.
You really do.
And you're in the chow line.
And it's all bad. And looking to just ball people up at the park.
You all parked then.
You're all parked. So, one of the things that I've been hearing about is how last night Roy Williams got out coached. And that's he felt like a lot of people were talking about how North Carolina should have just continued to stuff the ball down the middle and down Nova's throat. And they're saying Roy lost that game. And he was out-coached even on the last play. It looked like a really nice game. But I know some gamblers who said they didn't even bet against North Carolina. They bet against Roy Williams.
Wow.
Right? That's pretty – man, that's pretty serious work right there. I don't know, man. This college thing, there's so many teams. There's so many games. And it's just – it comes down to this, and you have to answer the bell. And can you do it? That's what it comes down to.
Right.
And so much is riding on this. Some of these kids are never going to go pro, and they're not worried about it. And they can actually just enjoy themselves.
What's the percentage on that?
Super low.
Like 95% don't make it, right? 97?
Well, I was about to say, I think you're giving love. I think there's, the handful of people that actually make it to professional as the athletes that they play in college, I think you saw them on the Jordan memes last night. They're there are people in the crowd. Everybody saw everybody. Charles Barkley, big gambler. Michael Jordan, big gambler. How much money do you think was wagered by those gamblers last night on what do you think? What do you think about that?
Everybody knows Jordan's a big gambler. There's no telling what he put on the line.
And especially for his team.
Right. But he's not playing.
Well, he doesn't play in most of the stuff that he gambles on.
Yeah, but, when it comes down to basketball, he's a control guy.
Maybe so.
Yeah,
but he's always on time. Which leads me to say, I want to give a shout out to Ritmo Mundo. You can stay the course and on time with the Racer 44mm driven by a Swiss Ronda quartz chronograph movement. You wearing your Ritmo Mundo today, T?
Yes.
It's beautiful. Beautiful watch.
Beautiful.
So, want to move on. Want to speak on a topic that's near and dear to our hearts, and it's a game of baseball. The game sparked up. You almost spit out your water over there,
right?
Icons.
No, I can't believe it. I mean, this is like the best time of the year.
How about
smell the grass?
Except for October, when it's like the ultimate.
Well, we have to start it before we can finish it.
Got to start it. You're right. I get a little anxious.
Yeah.
But how about Clayton Kershaw's performance? Break down opening night and subsequently opening day for me.
You know what? With Clayton Kershaw, that was to be expected, but Jake Arrieta really showed him up, because what Jake Arrieta did, he shut down the Angels. The Angels have a monster lineup, and the Padres really don't. Not to take anything away from what Kershaw did, because they are professional, they're major leaguers. But, I mean, how many strikeouts did he have last night?
Kershaw?
Yeah, 9?
I think he had 9.
9 and 7?
I think he had 9 and 7. He only gave up 1 hit.
Yeah, and that hit was suspect because Carl Crawford didn't see the ball, which is, he could have had a no-hitter going into the 7th. But the game was a blowout, and he never gets run support, which was unbelievable. He got 15 runs last night.
I mean, when he got the 1 or 2 runs, it just seemed like,
the game's over.
The game is over.
Dude, let's look at something else.
I think the San Diego Padres felt the same way.
Yeah, they did. They were broke.
That was it. They were absolutely broken.
They couldn't do anything about it. Now, you watched Jake Arrieta last night, and he was unbelievable. He mixed his pitches up. He hit his spots early, too. This is early in the season. He showed good control.
Good command over his pitches.
Some of the batters showed a lack of discipline as well,
Well, you know what, Jake Arrieta, Clayton Kershaw, and who else did I see out there with the same kind of, I would say David Price and... Who else?
Chris Sale looked nice, but he gave up 3 earnings.
Yeah, but no. What I'm saying is that these guys showed composure.
Right.
And when you looked at the opening day game with the Blue Jays and the Tampa Bay Rays, Chris Archer on any given day is the best pitcher in baseball.
Right. Struck out 12.
But he was out of control early. He was too hyped up. You could see the youth in his game because he was too excited. He was missing up early. And let me tell you something. You can't miss up to the Toronto Blue Jays lineup.
You can't miss up to little leaguers, really.
Good point. Especially the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah. So he paid the price.
12
strikeouts, though. You're supposed to win the game. They're just young.
They are young.
They're a great team, though. They're just young, and they miss Madden. So
they do miss Madden.
Yeah.
So break it down to me, game by game. So you got that. I want to talk about the game that you picked that you were most confident about, which was the Kansas City Royals going against the New York Mets. Now, you love Matt Harvey. You brought Matt Harvey on the scene in our fantasy league. Yeah. You love the guy.
Met him a few times. He's a really nice
cool
guy, stone cold stud.
Stone cold stud. Love Matt Harvey.
And he loves to talk about the game.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, which is awesome.
You're awesome.
No, you're awesome, dude. But you got guys like Cespedes out there. He's a great athlete, but I don't know if he focuses enough in the games. It's like he got paid and he doesn't take it serious anymore.
Hold on a second, because even before he got paid, he dropped the ball in center field to start off the World Series.
Yeah.
Now, do you put that on Terry Collins for having him out there, for having him in the wrong position? Who do you put that on?
Some of it has to go to the coach, but bottom line, Cespedes is the one in the field. He has to have some kind of respect for his game.
I agree.
I mean, the ball hits your glove. If you touch it, you catch it. Really, right?
Yeah.
You can't nonchalant go for the ball, drop it, and throw it in like, oh, well, you know what? It's just another ball.
Well, I actually put out a case. What was the name of that movie with Dan Aykroyd and with Damon Wayans, Randy Quaid, or Dennis Quaid? No, which Quaid brother was that?
Probably Randy.
Where the Celtics, where Damon Wayans was on the Celtics.
Oh,
and the Celtics fans kidnapped him. Can we look it up? And the Celtics fans kidnapped him. I personally feel like Matt Harvey might have Yoenis Cespedes kidnapped and possibly harmed, because Cespedes does more harm to Matt Harvey in the field than. Wow, just unbelievable how maybe he just doesn't play well in Kansas City.
I think that, you have to look at the whole team. I didn't pick him, even though Matt Harvey's a better pitcher than Edison Volquez, but because the whole team, they're not as tight of a unit as the Kansas City Royals, so you can't think that they're going to be the team like the world champs. What's the difference between the championship game and what you just saw the other day?
That's a good point. The championship series. And then you know what else I'll say to go along with that is I still have yet to see, and this is a bold statement, but I've yet to see a better team unit than the Kansas City Royals over these past couple of years.
Right.
These guys just find a way to win.
They're not intimidated. They don't strike out.
And they pick each other up.
And they pick each other up.
Look at.
And they don't have a real slugger on their squad.
No, is that Herrera? Or was that Soria that ended up giving up the runs?
Soria
had a hard time, and what happens? Wade Davis comes in and he gets the job done.
Yeah, he was a little shaky, but it's the first game of the year, so it's to be expected. But other than that, he regrouped, got himself together, and got outs.
He got outs, and he got Yoenis Cespedes out for the game.
Of course.
Let's talk about David Wright. What do you think about David Wright?
I feel bad because David Wright is a stud. He was a stud, but now, he's declining, and he has to learn, or he has to say to himself, you know what? I shouldn't really be in the 2 or 3 hole. He's in the 2 hole, and Cespedes is in the 3 hole. That's a 2-3 punch that's not there, actually.
It's not as effective as, say, Bautista and Encarnacion.
Exactly. I would really give that Conforto kid a shot in the 3 hole.
Yeah, and I need him to play every day. I don't know what this platooning nonsense is about.
Yeah, but they're very disappointed in Terry Collins and the Mets because they're a better team than that. If you put together a monster rotation like that, you have to be able to put out some kind of offense or defense for your pitchers.
I agree. And let's talk about this. Let's talk about a couple fantasy sleeper cells here. And I feel confident in a pick that I made with the kid down in Atlanta named Adonis Garcia.
Ooh. Man,
come on, man.
He's a stud.
This kid went deep.
There's a lot of sleepers out there. Kevin Pillar
setting the table for
Kevin Kiermaier.
Come on, man. I wish they gave points for defense.
Right.
He's a monster out there in the field.
The sleeper was Story, right? Now look at Trevor Story.
Wow. Ask Zach Greinke about Trevor Story.
Yeah. Well, now Zach Greinke is pulling up lane. He supposedly had the flu.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to see. The numbers aren't going to lie because he's no longer the number 2 man. Now he's the actual ace.
He can't hide.
And he's got to face other aces.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm looking for a good start out of Shelby Miller, to be honest. I'm looking for a good season out of Shelby Miller.
Well, you know what? That good cheese always translates.
It translates. And he's got himself under control.
Oh, man.
He composed himself last year. He's really young, and he was on a bad team last year, so it's always hard for a guy to keep his game together there.
Especially a pitcher, because they try to do everything themselves when, they don't get the defense or the run support that they think that they deserve.
And then let's talk about my pick to win it is the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, National League, they should go all the way, and I think that Houston probably in the American League, Houston and KC in the big dance.
Really?
Going at it.
Yeah, because, the issue is going to be is that San Francisco put up 12 runs yesterday, not off the best pitchers in the world, but at the same time, they've never had offense. Now they got offense, and they shut you down.
Right.
And I tell you what, it leads me to want to speak on the foolishness of the way I can't see it as any other way. I let you call it out there in Fanland. Why did Johnny Cueto have a hard time getting his money in this offseason?
Or getting a job. This was like the worst year that he's had in the past 5 years. But his stats are better than actually Zach Greinke's the past 5 years.
And he won the World Series.
And
he was an instrumental part in winning the World Series.
Yes. He's probably changed Yordani Ventura's career around.
He probably has changed Yordani Ventura's career. Speaking of the flu, a lot of flus going around Major League Baseball right now. I don't know. What is this?
Guys coughing, not covering their mouth. Come on, dude. Slap a high five. And all of a sudden, Ernie's sick.
Just like that. We get Ernie out of there. Hey, I want to send a shout out to all my friends over at 5-4 Clothing. They always keep you looking fresh and looking right. I am the voice of the 5-4 Club. And if you want to look good without shopping all the damn time, go visit 54club.com. So, want to slide into a different topic now. Want to move into the world of boxing. We got a big fight coming up this weekend with Timothy Bradley going up against Manny Pacquiao. Now, Manny Pacquiao, there's a cloud of controversy that I'm very interested to see how it affects the actual sales of this fight, but behind Manny's comments about his lack of endorsement for gay marriage, and really doesn't have anything to do with boxing, in my opinion, but it struck a personal chord for Tim Bradley, because Timothy Bradley, I think he said his uncle died of AIDS early in the AIDS epidemic, and he was a homosexual. It personalizes
it personalizes the situation for Tim Bradley. I know you and I both feel like Timothy Bradley is a vastly underrated fighter in this era.
Mm-hmm.
He's shown a lot of heart. He has crazy athleticism. And now he's got a new trainer in Teddy Atlas.
Right, but I think that mixing and matches of styles is not going to work out for him the right way. Still, he hasn't beaten him once, although third time may be a charm.
It's hard to beat a guy, just like we talk about all the time in baseball, basketball. It's hard to beat any team more than 2 times in a row in any sport.
Yes.
And you're fighting Pac. Who knows how he's going to come off of this shoulder injury? Even though he looks pretty good on the mitts and
he looks great.
I mean, Jesus, this guy's a monster. I hate the Mayweather Pacquiao hype, and I hate that I saw Freddie Roach saying that he wouldn't mind seeing a rematch because he'd like to have that fight over again, and blah blah blah. And
there's no reason for Floyd to do anything like that unless you pay him $1 billion.
Even
really.
If you pay him $1 billion,
and nobody wants to see it again anyway. Yeah.
Why should he do that?
Yeah, with the situation with Timothy Bradley out here right now, though, Timothy Bradley has a great opportunity to take his game to a next level.
He does, yeah. and get another big money fight that he should, get another big money fight that he actually deserves.
Right.
Now, Pacquiao's a heavy favorite.
Should, because his skill set is not like diminished or anything.
And he's just beat the guy twice.
And he doesn't have a lot of pop as he used to, but he still can, lay mitts.
He can put tips on you.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about that is, this is the changing of a guard in a sense. Freddie Roach has gone on record and said that he thinks Manny Pacquiao should retire after this fight, win or lose. He's just basically saying that's it. That's enough. We did enough.
And Pacquiao's talking about fighting Triple G.
Which is not a good decision.
Which is not a good decision.
Not a good decision. That's not the right move. And knowing Pacquiao with his bravado, he probably want to move up to fight him.
Right, and get in there and go toe to toe with a young man,
and he's going to end up going to sleep.
He's going to end up going to sleep.
Man, Pacquiao still sleep. In the words of Floyd Mayweather. But let's talk about Adrian Broner. Adrian Broner has turned himself in.
Sad.
And then a couple.
So sad. So sad. This guy.
And then he's gotten out. And then he's gotten out. He got out immediately. He bailed himself out.
Yeah.
And you brought up a very interesting point about feeling bad for Adrian Broner. Speak on that.
Yeah, well, people should give this guy some love, man. That looks like what he's crying out for. He just needs some kind of attention, but it needs to be positive because nobody's giving him guidance. You got a bunch of front runners on his squad probably that's pumping him up with the madness. Hey, man, you should do this and do that. And instead of that, the guy has an opportunity to be successful and to be positive and, to do great things in life with an opportunity like that, and he's using it for something wrong.
He's using it for something wrong, and so you feel like this is from coming up under the tutelage of something wrong, like with Floyd Mayweather and his allegations of taking some guys out to the desert and beating the crap out of them, beating them within an inch of his life, their lives. And apparently, that went away, which leads you to believe that there was some sort of a settlement involved.
Exactly, and Broner probably felt like he could do the same thing. And, instead of, if you want to gamble, everybody should understand the responsibility of gambling. If you gamble, you take a loss. And if you take a loss, then you have to eat that. And you can't go out in the parking lot most of the time and wait for a guy, and they say that they have a video.
Bust his face open because you're a professional fighter.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be laying hands on anybody.
No, you can't lay hands. Now let's hear what Broner said at the end of the fight against Ashley Theophane. He handily won the fight, by the way. I don't know if you get to see this fight.
Yeah, I saw some of the highlights.
It wasn't much. It was lopsided.
Yeah.
And when Broner shows up to fight, he's actually, pretty good.
I actually think he can beat Floyd.
Wow. Well, Broner seems to feel the same way because this is what he said.
Gave y'all what I promised. It went to the 4th round, but I knocked his ass out, though.
I have to ask, what is your eye on in the boxing ring?
Man, listen. As y'all know, I've been going through a lot this whole week. And for me to come in here and to bottle everything up and to come in here and stay focused and get the job done, I want to give a pat on the back to myself, because that's a lot. But y'all probably know about this. Some
So, this is very Hollywood in a sense. You have the little brother who wants to fight the big brother. This is something I will say. Floyd Mayweather has made, a lot of money branding himself as the bad guy and as the mark. And all of these guys now are trying to trade. I mean, you can't watch a boxing publication or anything about without hearing Floyd Mayweather's name, and he's retired.
Right. And they're trying to find somebody to pass the torch to.
It seems like it. And Broner dropped the ball because they gave this guy a championship pretty much right after he lost.
Yeah. It's just a bad situation with this kid, man, because he needs some kind of guidance, and he's not getting it. You can have a lot of money, but what does that mean if you're completely confused? This guy is confused in life. He doesn't have any kind of guidance. You need someone to tell him, it seems like, what's right and what's wrong. He doesn't know. And if they give this kid what was that defense that they ran with that kid? The
shoulder roll?
No, the rich kid that got out of the.
He's privileged.
Yeah,
he had what was the name of that?
What was the name of that defense that they called up?
Affluenza.
Yeah. What's the difference at this point? What's the difference between he has affluenza at this point? He doesn't know what's right or wrong.
You're right. And truth be told, we've seen throughout the history of mankind that poverty has created more confusion than affluenza ever could hope to.
Right.
Poverty is, and Broner talks about even here how he came from water and cornflakes. And there's something that happens to people when they become newly rich. And he's on the path now where you wake up one morning, you see a headline where Adrian Broner is dead or has been killed or something like that.
Yeah.
You hate to see,
exactly.
You've read this script before, you've seen this movie before.
Exactly. But this is all coming from a situation where you're being mentored by a guy like Floyd Mayweather who puts such an emphasis on having money and having
materialism and whatnot.
Yeah.
Now, but do you feel like he was really mentoring him, or do you feel like that was a fake friendship?
That's what they say. They say that he was mentoring him, and also Adrian Broner.
If that was the case, why didn't he sign to Mayweather Promotions?
Sour grapes at this point. They fell out before that, right?
Right.
I mean, but when is somebody going to tell the guy, hey, man, listen, you need to come over here and get your life together? It seems to me that's how a lot of religious sects go and grab a guy like him and get him.
A popular guy, a powerful guy,
right,
who then in turn, they use his vulnerability to potentially brainwash him.
Like a Mike Tyson.
And next thing you know, that he could be representing anything.
Right.
What do you mean by like Mike Tyson?
Well, when he went to the Nation of Islam, he wasn't in the Nation of Islam before he went to prison.
Yeah,
he was
kind of like wild.
Yeah.
And then he came out and they took him under his wing, and he talked about having more discipline and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's a life discipline that this guy needs that he never got before, and he probably needed the military more than he needed anything.
Wow.
Yeah, because you can't talk about a guy who's going to die before he's 30 and say, oh, well, he made a lot of money. So what? He's dead.
Wow, you just go ahead and put him. You're already writing a eulogy for the young man.
No. This is the road.
Taking a somber tone on the OZone right now.
No, this is the road that it leads to, though. I just feel bad for the guy because he actually still has potential. It's not over, but he can change his pattern or his life, but he has to want to.
He's got to want it.
Yeah.
He's got to want it. Just like we want to know if the fans actually want to see Yao Ming inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame alongside Allen Iverson and Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, with an asterisk.
Ooh, see, but I don't know, because there's another side of that, which is Yao bridged a cultural gap. And, finance plays a big role in all of these sports now. And he bridged this cultural gap for these guys to make a lot of money. I heard a stat that was astounding. Did you know that when Yao Ming was playing for the Houston Rockets regular season games were averaging more viewers than the Super Bowl?
Wow.
Come on, man.
But did you give the guy an induction for that? I mean, you're not supposed
He was the reason for the season.
Yeah, but what about his numbers? 19-9 for about 8 years?
I think it was 7.
And I don't but I'm talking about him being productive. He probably was
that's
only.
What I'm saying. I think it was.
Yeah, I think he was only productive for like maybe 5 or 6.
Huh.
Yeah, let me take a peek at this.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to tell you. And then I want to play something else that I don't know if you saw about somebody that's going in with Yao Ming. Rather, he's leading the class.
Next to WrestleMania 32, and it was really the big event of the evening, I'd say, last night. And the Shaquille O'Neal stepping into the ring.
What was he doing? Come on.
This is probably scenes from the locker room when he was there with the Lakers, with Kobe, all those nights, those rough nights. The 7'1" NBA icon stunned more than 100,000 WWE fans as a final entrant in the third annual Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royale. So,
come on, man.
Wow, no, and the Big Show didn't even look that big next to him.
Shaquille O'Neal, I stood next to Shaquille O'Neal, and I saw him on the Fox lot just a little bit ago, and he hugged me. He said, "Proud of you, boy. Good to see you. Keep up the good work." I was like, "Thanks, Diesel." And he gave me a hug, and I was in his pocket. I didn't even know. All of a sudden, I was in his pocket. I was like, "Geez, you got deep pockets, Shaq." This guy is huge. It's huge. And I'm telling you, Shaquille O'Neal, not only was he a monster basketball player, but probably the most dominant player in the history of basketball, this guy just went out, bad Achilles and all, and participated in the Battle Royal, in the Royal Rumble.
And it looked good.
It looked good, and in honor of Andre the Giant, who's one of my favorites. Wow. He got ejected immediately, but what can you do? I mean, it's all good. I just
and then The Rock came in and finished it off, huh?
Oh, come on, man. 6-second tap. Oh, man, get out of here. Get out of here. This guy is a stone cold winner. But so you're talking about Shaq. You're talking about Allen Iverson. These are two of the greatest to ever lace them up. Is Yao Ming deserving of being? You just don't see it, huh?
No, I'm looking at the stats, and I don't see it.
Talk to me.
I mean, he does. There was a time between 205 and 208 where he didn't even play 60 games. And then the last year, 2010 to 2010 to 11, he only played 5 games.
So you're seeing that as just unacceptable.
Very, very. I think that it diminishes or takes away a little bit of what the Hall is about. Obviously, he bridged the economic gap, but the thing of it is that it's supposed to be about statistics and whatnot. I thought that the Hall was about a guy who put up great numbers, won championships, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, but what they're saying is they're expanding what the Hall is about, and it doesn't seem like you appreciate this expansion of the Hall. You'd like to keep the Hall narrow.
Yeah, I like to keep it narrow. Yeah, I like to keep it,
as on court.
Right.
I mean, on a different note, the argument to be made is that Yao Ming Ming Yao, as has oftentimes stated, has included literally billions of people and introduced 1 billion people.
He's an ambassador to the game.
To the game. And in that sense, it's kind of like when you see a guy that's a scout or a coach get nominated, Right. It's hard to me, the hardest part to swallow is that he never won a championship or he never won a division or, He
never got close.
He never even smelled the championship.
Right. But he was going against the Diesel, though, so you couldn't really expect him to do much.
Hey, what can you do?
Yeah, and the Spurs. But still, I mean, his numbers don't justify him getting into the Hall. That's my take on it.
Well, there it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm giving you a brief version of the Ozone today. I want to leave on a nice quote from Buddha. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Don't drink that poison, folks. Drink the Kool-Aid. This is Omar Miller here, signing off from the Ozone.